Hey, it's Rav. You're watching Real Investments. We're talking to my good friend Sam McDadi. We're going to talk about how to make money just investing in real estate. How to not have money just sitting in your home or sitting in the bank making nothing, but how to make 25, 30% annualized returns by investing in real estate. There's none other that I'd rather have on the show talking about that than my friend, my guest, Sam McDadi. Sam, it's, I mean, I call you Sam, but I just love to say your full name. It's just such a great name, Sam McDadi. My son's name is Sam. My dad's name is Sam. My wife's dog name was Sam, and I love Samuel, the prophet in the Bible. So you have good company here. We're having a great time. Before we get into how to make money, you have created something that's kind of here on fire. It's been in the news. People are wondering, what are you doing, and why would people do it, and how did you come up with it? And that is putting high-end homes. We're talking few $1 million homes up for sale through an auction process. So kind of paint the whole picture. I mean, there's not somebody saying, oh, there's nobody doing that per se, but, or is there? And if not, how does this auction process work? And just kind of paint the whole picture for us.
So, you know, about 3-4 years ago, we started getting involved in a lot of the high-end properties.
Yes.
And so,
what's a high-end property? 2, 3, 4, 5?
Anything north of 2 would
2
be
million?
high-end.
Okay.
Anything that's over 4 or 5 million is, you know, very high-end,
Okay.
right? And what we recognize, especially in the 5 million plus category, is that days on the market tend to be long. There was a study that's shown that worldwide houses over $5 million take maybe on average 3 to 5 years to sell.
Is that right?
3 to 5
3 to 5 years to sell houses over $5 million.
Over $5 million.
Okay, and that's just normal because not everybody has that price point. They will sell, but they'll take 3 to 5 years.
And so the buyer who's got a house that's worth $5, $10, $15 million, you know, it's a money-time trade-off. So do they want to wait 3 to 5 years to move on with their life? Or maybe obviously they don't maybe need the money, but that asset's sitting there dead. They have to maintain it, take care of it. Vacant. They're worried about ABC. Could there be flood, fires, etc.? So to maybe have that removed from their plate is a big piece for them. So what we realized is that auctions is a viable option for people in that high price range. So we did our first one end of January, and it got great media attention.
This year, 2014, end of January.
That's right.
And the price point on that house was?
So it was originally listed $11 million with another realtor.
Yeah.
Palatial house, 18,000 square feet.
$11 million.
$11 million
Okay.
in Mississauga, which is a really high number in Mississauga. So probably just the build alone was $7 million. They had the best of the best, and so the exterior was Indiana limestone, $1 million.
Wow.
You know, it goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
Elevator servicing all 4 levels.
Wow.
So they went the distance, right?
Yes.
But the buyer pool was small. So when we took it,
So it was already on the market for 12 months, didn't sell.
It was on the market probably for longer with the previous realtor for maybe a year and a half, 2 years, and it didn't sell at $11 million. So quite a long time on the market.
Okay.
So we took it over.
Yeah.
We actually sold it once to a fellow from the States for a good amount of money, $7.5 million.
Yeah.
He couldn't get his money out. So we gave them ample time to do so. We released the deal.
What do you mean he couldn't get his money out?
He had money tied up in the States that was supposed to move forward to Canada, just couldn't gain access. So we gave them, you know, enough time to see if that could kind of work out. It didn't.
Okay.
So we released the deal. So then, you know, one of my friends now who's in the auction world, we kind of collaborated and said, listen, why don't we look at auctioning houses, which is really a novel idea in the GTA, Mississauga, West End, and you know there could be a really good captive audience, and so we tinkered with it. And
I want to make sure that the viewers at home don't confuse this with creating a bidding war. This is not a bidding war. This is a real, true auction. And so a lot of people probably think, are you even allowed to do something like that? And so go on.
We are for sure. So we aligned ourselves with the auction house, Ritchie's, which we've done a lot of work since, and we set the date. It was about a month in advance. So they did their, you know, back end work, which is a lot of PR work. We did our front end work, which was real estate and getting out to the realtors and our, you know, database, et cetera, et cetera. The day of the auction was madness.
So I didn't realize that. I thought it was Sam McDadi that was doing it. You spearheaded this, but you had a professional auction company with expertise. That's all they do. Collaborate with you, so it's not something that you just made up.
No, because that's not our forte. My forte is selling houses, getting people through the door, negotiating offers, etc. Investing, which we'll talk about in a few minutes as well, all of the above, but auctions isn't my forte or strength, so I never profess it to be, so we align ourselves with the best to have that piece taken care of.
I love how you leverage. It's very smart. Okay, so go on,
So the day of the auction, we had I'm going to say maybe 700-800 people in the house. It
Come
became
on.
pandemonium. But
700-800 people in the house.
it was madness.
Okay.
And we had about 15-16 bidders, which is pretty substantial for a price of that level.
Of course.
So, and eventually we had a successful bid and the whole shebang. And so it was, just...
So how did it work? Was there a guy that says, do I hear $1, $1? No.
Very much similar to an auction. You actually hear it's actually people. It's an open auction process, and people are bidding, and they actually have little paddles and et cetera, et cetera. And so it was very much like
you know what we need to do? The next time you do that, we need to come, Rogers, the number one communications company in the world. That's right, I said it. So we'll have Rogers come to that auction. We'll take a little clip of this because I want to see that, and then we'll show it on TV. I think that's phenomenal because no one's ever done this that I've ever heard of in my 26 years of playing the game.
And we also want to think outside the box. What can we do something that's creative, unique, different, that's going to bring attention to our clients? And from our clients' perspective, they acknowledge and understand they're going to take a bit of a price adjustment, a marginal amount. But
so let's talk about that. Yeah. So what happens is, the people are bidding, and so market value, they may take a couple percent, a few points off of what they could get normally, but that normally might be 24, 36 months. This way they can sell their house within a couple of weeks or a month or so, whatever it takes, and money today is way better than money 2-3 years from now, so it's a win-win. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly right. So all these clients understand, listen, the buyers are coming because they expect a deal, and they will get a deal, but from their perspective, they get this asset off their plate, which is really what happens, right? So it was phenomenal. So we actually did one a few weeks ago. It was a dual auction. So we actually did 2 in 1 day.
2 in 1 day. So because the first one you actually did at the subject property.
That's right. And what we realized is that there was far too many people there. It was
I think so. With 800 people,
craziness. It was hard to keep control. Even my whole team was there. They were trying to manage all the people there, but it was spiraling out of control. So we rented a school and we did the second auction there. And the key point to also mention is the seller sets an absolute minimum. So it's not going to sell for $1 or $100,000. So they set their minimum. At the end, if it doesn't reach that minimum, it's their decision or discretion if they want to take that offer or not. So
So they have their minimum, and if their minimum is too high, you're going to say to them, it's not happened yet, but you would say to them, hey, well, there's no sense doing an auction, we'll do our normal marketing procedure and so on and so forth. But if they're reasonable, and setting their minimum, then we go for it.
Absolutely, because the minimum number has to be a number that makes sense. If it's a asking price of a property, then there's no benefit for the buyer. So, and the second auction was interesting. Neither house met reserve that day, but within 3-4 days, we were able to put a deal together for one of the houses, and we're negotiating on the second one. So
how did that happen? Were people at the auction that actually came through later?
It was quite interesting. So there are people bidding on both houses, and we made it clear that the houses hadn't reached minimum reserve, and so there was 2 or 3 people very close to it. So I went there talking to the folks in the audience to see if we can get to that number to kind of finalize the deal. It didn't happen at that point in time.
But the exposure was there. People saw it. The emotion started to happen. Honey, we should have bought it. Can you call Sam? That's kind of what happened.
What happens is sometimes people think it's going to go for a much higher price, and they're surprised. Wow, if we had known we were going to get it at that price, we'd have bought that definitely. So the day or two later, if it doesn't sell, which oftentimes we found now in our limited experience with auctions, it may sell 3 or 4 days after. It may not have happened at the day of auction. So within 3-4 days after the auction, we sold one, and we're in the midst of selling the second one. So which really otherwise it would be on the market for realistically another couple of years, right? So
and everybody's happy. Like I said, the vendor may take a pinch, but he actually wins because he sells it now. Listen, I hate clutter in my life. I can't stand this open things. I love things to be closed shut. I call myself OCB, obsessive compulsive blessing, and there's many people that just, I don't want something sitting there for 2 years. It's going to take 2-3 years. And you're saying if it's over $5 million, that's just the stat. It takes,
even with us trying to sell out the McDadi Group, it's still probably going to take some time. That high-end world, it's challenging because the buyer pool is smaller.